G'day Gooners and welcome back to the post-match podcast. Obviously, last game of the season, it was the Champions League final against PSG in Budapest. Unfortunately, it did not go the way of Arsenal. PSG won on penalties. Yeah, not a great day today. It was a 2 a.m. kickoff for us here in Australia. Just to give some backstory, myself and Cal both in different cities, so we went to different pubs to watch the game. But as always, joined by Cal. So Cal, how are you?
Not great, honestly. Still trying to process it, getting a bit, used to it, I guess. But I just keep thinking of the fact that we won the Prem and trying to hold on to that, as the sort of comfort thing. But yeah, it does hurt, but I'm sure we're gonna do even better next season. So it's not bad.
100%, 100%. And today we have the privilege of being joined by
Of
my
course, yes.
my dad and my brother, so Lawrence and Archie. They are currently driving from Budapest to Prague before they get their flight home back to London. Hello, guys. How are we feeling? How are we doing?
We're doing well. Slight correction. I'm well. Hopefully, I'm not driving to Prague. I'm driving to Vienna.
There you go. You're driving to Vienna. That's my bad.
Yeah. So we're off to Austria, which is our route back to the UK. I will try and do two things at once, which I'm not very good at, which is driving and talking. But yeah, it's
You keep your eyes on the road and just do the talking. But yeah, we were at the game. The build up was great. The anticipation was great. It kind of felt we got here on a Friday night, and it kind of felt like a party. And unfortunately, it didn't go the way that we had hoped and dreamed. And so close, but sometimes in those moments you just gotta grab it, and I will go into the details. I'm sure in the next hour, but yeah, disappointing, very very disappointing.
yeah. I
100%.
think I think it's got to be caveated by, and it's a difficult sort of conundrum. Um, in the light of day, it's got to be caveated by we've had the most incredible season. And yeah, you've got to be disappointed to lose a Champions League final on penalties. But you've also got to be unbelievably upbeat and proud of the way this team has battled through an incredible season. To enter four competitions and win the hardest of them, which I think the Premier League is, to lose a final of the Champions League to penalties, to get to another final and a quarter final. When you analyze it, it is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Are they? Have they been the most fantastic, free-flowing, wonderful team to watch? No. Is there room for improvement? Yes. And that hopefully is what will happen, and that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I guess from where we come from, we analyze every minute, every pass almost. But if you take a step back, it's been a very very good season, as you said. It's to enter four competitions and to essentially get into three finals. Obviously, the Premier League's a league format, so it's different. But to win the Premier League, to get into a final of the Champions League and another final, and then a quarter final, as you said, it's really good. But I think that reflecting on the whole season, which we can now at the end of it, we haven't really learned anything new necessarily about what we lack in. It's sort of the same theme that has crept up this year as it has done the past three, to be honest with you. So, which is in the top third of the pitch, we are lacking the same quality as a PSG, as a Barcelona, as a Bayern Munich. And in the elite competitions, that really is what gets you over the line. Um, However, the caveat to that is that our backline and defensive midfielders are so strong. In a league format over 38 games, we have managed to get ourselves across the line, which is difficult. But my thought process goes to the transfer window, where we actually did invest quite a lot in that front line. But for us now, at the end of this season, to be saying that front line doesn't look like it's improved, that would be the part where I would, I guess, question the manager and everyone upstairs about their transfer process. Is it something that they're going to address this summer? You'd probably like to think it is. But we spent extensively. Obviously, Eze was 68 million. Madueke was 50 million, and Gyökeres was 55 million. And for us to really look back at this season and say in the front areas we don't look any better, is a slight concern. But needless to say, we came into this Champions League final after being crowned Premier League winners. So it's obviously been a great season. But what was your thought process, Arch, about the lineup when we found out the lineup? I was surprised. What about you?
Yeah, I was surprised too, especially with Hincapié starting. I didn't expect that one. And whilst obviously he's a defender, or it's a defensive position, what Calafiori gives you going forwards, and the benefit of playing Calafiori was interesting. Hincapié was actually flawless and played really well. So in hindsight, like that's the situation. But it's interesting what Calafiori would have given you in our or in their final third. So yeah, that one was a little strange. Bar that, to be honest with you, it was as I expected. I know there was multiple discussions whether he would go with Eze or Trossard on the left, or if Eze would play in the middle and no C. For me, that what he went with was the right decision. Pre-game, that's what I hoped and wanted. And then Havertz up top again. For me, pre-game, that was who I thought he was going to go with, who I thought he should have gone with, and on the basis he scored the opening goal and put in a decent shift, I think, and I stand by that being the right decision. But yeah, it was the Hincapié one was the one that I kind of raised my eyebrows at and was interesting. Now, having lost the game, could have been more brave and put Eze in the middle and maybe not played Skelly and had Odegaard play a bit deeper, potentially. It's easy to say that now, but yeah, the only one for me was the Hincapié one where I wasn't too sure on that decision.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess that's what I was the same, but I guess that's why we're not professional coaches, because I thought Hincapié was probably our best performer on the day. I thought he was outstanding.
Yeah.
Completely.
I think that's right. I think that's right. I think Hincapié was fantastic. I think what Arch is saying, and I agree with, and it's what Arteta, what was he trying to do in the game, and could he have been braver? I think he decided with that team sheet that we were going to play in a very, very defensive way, soak up pressure. Because if he had played Calafiori, that is a more attacking option. Calafiori is not as good a defender as Hincapié, but he does give he gives you more, and he injects chaos. But that can go two ways. especially against a team like PSG. So he obviously took the more defensive option. And had we have been, and we'll I'm sure move on to this, and you and I, or George, myself, and Archie discussed this offline. Had we have been better when we had the chances offensively, when I say chances, we didn't create any chances bar the second Havertz chance, the first one obviously being the goal.
Yeah.
We pretty much created nothing because we were not fluid enough when we got the ball back, and in those transitional moments we were very clunky. We weren't.
Yeah.
Oh shit, 1 second, sorry, almost had an accident. Great. No, that wasn't me. There's a car that's just sort of pulled up on the hard shoulder, and not the place to do it. Yeah.
All good.
Anyway.
All good.
Sorry.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I can completely agree with what you're saying. I feel like the whole tie in itself was really the best attack in Europe versus the best defense in Europe. And I think on the ball there is no team better than PSG at the moment, but I do think off the ball there is no team better in Europe than Arsenal. So I think that Arteta probably went for what he thought was play to our strengths and try and nullify their strengths. And with, their goal coming from a penalty, you could argue it really did work. Cal, what did you make of the lineup?
Just going off what you said there, exactly right. Like the best attack in Europe, and if you look at it on paper, like technically we succeeded. The only goal they got was from a penalty. People were saying that they were going to score 3, 4, 5 against us. They won off a penalty in normal time, and then a penalty shootout, which can go either way. So we actually nullified them to 0 open play goals. So I think defensively it was a good good showing. I just think, as you guys said before, it was quite clunky in the midfield. When I saw the lineup, I was a little bit like disappointed. First of all, for me, that Eze didn't start, because Eze is the type of player that can win you a game. I was saying that in all my pre-match content. He is a player that can just come up with a magic moment, take a pot shot, do a pass or something that's going to win you the game. We've seen it against Man City in the FA Cup final last year when he was playing for Palace. So I was disappointed in that. And I think another thing I was disappointed in was because we've talked about partnerships this season as well. And Calafiori was someone that I wanted to start the game. And I understand why Hincapié did start, because if it was for that defensive sort of thing, and it was probably the more brave choice to pick Calafiori, and we know Arteta's a bit of a pragmatic manager when it comes to that sort of thing. But if you're going to play Hincapié, play Eze with him, because Hincapié and Trossard isn't the combination that I prefer. Like, if you're going to play Trossard, play Calafiori. If you're going to play Hincapié, play Eze. So I was a bit disappointed with that. Yeah, I didn't have too many other problems. Maybe Timber starting, but I think that was just an injury thing. But I was pretty happy with it all around, but just really want to see Eze come on. At least if Eze wasn't going to start, he needed to come on early. I think Arteta made a mistake there, because when he did come on, I thought he had a good few moments. So yeah,
for sure, for sure. And it's a hard one, like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, unless
exactly,
you win.
Yeah.
If you win, then if you win the game, and if we tuck away penalties, then
at the end of the day, like, penalty shootouts is just it's a 50-50 individual thing. Like, it's not Arteta's fault that Gabriel's hit it over the bar. It's not Arteta's fault that Eze's drifted it wide. Like, that can go either way. On another day, we're talking about Arteta being a genius, and what's the difference? 2 spot kicks. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, it is a bit ridiculous how football works sometimes in that sort of sense.
100%. Look, we started the game very, very, very well. I say well, but
we got the goal. So exactly. It was a great start. It was amazing.
Yeah. Our goal came in the first 6 minutes. Obviously, Havertz sort of ball came off what I thought was Trossard's arm when I first saw it, but they're back. I think it was like sort of the inside of his.
I think it did come off his
stomach.
hand, but it's because he's in front of him, so they're not gonna give that. It wasn't a natural position. I think that's why.
Yeah, and Havertz went bearing down on goal, and within 4 touches, hit the ball into the roof of the net. Really, really incredible finish. It's one
I
of those
actually,
where,
I actually thought he took
go
it
on.
too far for a second. Like he took an extra touch. I'm like, no, what are you doing? I thought he was just gonna kind of slot it to the bottom right hand corner. He took the extra touch. I'm like, oh my God. And because the way that I don't know about you, George, but the angle that I had at the bar was kind of like slightly side on. So I couldn't, it was harder to judge where the ball is as to when you're facing straight on at home in pure like HD. So I actually thought he like missed it for a second, thought he hit the side of the net, but then it went in. I was like, oh my days, like what a fantastic finish.
And the absolute, I've got to firstly big up wherever you were in Sydney, because that looked very, very lively.
It
Where,
was at
where did you go?
the Star Casino.
At the Star, because you're at the casino. Awesome. So I was at the Hickens Hotel in Melbourne, and it was rammed. Like people were queuing up for 7, 8 hours.
Wow.
Most people were there at like 3 in the afternoon, 3 to 5 in the afternoon. And when the game's at 2 a.m. the next morning, like Arsenal fans are seriously putting in a shift worldwide. So the atmosphere, literally couldn't fault it. But but yeah, we were 1-0 up. The whole place went absolutely nuts. I'm sure in stadium it was the same for you both. Going 1-0 up so
Yeah.
early in a cup final, I personally don't like to go up that early. Like my immediate thought when everyone was going nuts was I was trying to remain pretty calm because it was 6 minutes on the clock. So, but you got to enjoy it. You got to enjoy those moments, and it was a phenomenal finish. And yeah, fair play to Kai Havertz, 2 goals in 2 Champions League finals. So he saw us go 1-0 up, and you know for everything that Kai's gone through, even when he first joined us, and the amount of criticism that he got, and his wages and everything that goes with it with Kai, he does really step up every so often in those big moments. And we speak about our attacking players and the lack of the star quality and the X factor, but he produced one of those moments. So fair play to him. What did you guys make of the goal in stadium? Did you have a good view of it, or?
Yeah, so it was at the other end to where we were sitting. But we had quite a good, we were quite high up, so we kind of had a quite good view of the whole pitch. And it was an unbelievable finish. Unbelievable. From a really tight angle, similar to Cal. I thought he took one too many touches, and then all of a sudden it's hit the roof of the net. So yeah, it was kind of the dream start, and kind of to Mikel Arteta's game plan. He's dreaming to be 1-0 up and be able to try and defend that lead, knowing that he's set up as defensively as he did. It was perfect. It was like
Yeah.
written to the book of the game plan.
100%, 100%. And
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, I mean, like Archie said, we were right behind. All the Arsenal fans were behind the goal that was furthest away from Havertz at that time, and I thought that he took it a little bit too far, and then you saw the net ripple, and then you saw the ball, as Cal was saying, I thought it might have hit the side netting, and then you just saw the ball sort of shoot across the goalkeeper. Even from our distance, we could see that it was in the net. And yeah, I mean, obviously there were limbs, as they say, at that time, but like George said, 6 minutes in, and a 95, 100-minute game, as we all know, with the injury time and whatever else, there's a hell of a long way to go, and you're playing against a phenomenal team that can damage you and hurt you at any time.
Yeah.
So it was great, and you never want to go down. You want to go up. Obviously, you want to score goals. They're very important. So it was a fantastic start. But from there, I felt, again, just going back to the thing that we were saying before, that with the way we defend and the way we were set up, we had chances, and there were, I'm sure we'll get to it, there were one or two chances to hit them on the counter, and unfortunately, for whatever reason, the quality wasn't there.
Yeah, for sure. And the way that we set up thereafter was in our formidable 4-4-2 mid block. We were literally stopping them from playing in central areas, which is, from a coach's perspective, we were pressing perfectly almost. We were dragging them into wide areas, and then we were latching on to their forward passing attempts. And I thought Miles Lewis-Skelly and Declan Rice both did a great job of jumping at the right times and catching them out. Fabian Ruiz from PSG was drifting over to our right side, their left side, to try and play round our press, but it wasn't really working. The ball wasn't really sticking to their wingers. Their wingers weren't getting the ball in the areas that they really wanted to receive them, which is more central. So the game plan really did work very, very well. And as you correctly said, Dad, like we managed to pick them off a few times, and we just lacked that quality. Like, it was the weight of pass all game, I thought, in the final third was lacking. But we did create a very, very good chance in exactly that scenario. Ball sort of, I think it went from Rice to Odegaard, and then Odegaard played a beautiful one-touch pass into Kai Havertz, who looked like he was storming straight through in on goal. And I think Hakimi got himself across, made a really, really good block. But I was saying to the boys offline that, Haaland in that situation just waits for Hakimi to come across, sort of fakes the shot, and then sticks the ball straight in the bottom corner. And these are parts and times in games where you really need to punish, because you're not going to get a lot of those chances. They're not going to come often, because PSG are pretty well structured. They don't make too many mistakes in possession. So when they do, you really got to punish them, and we didn't. And that always gives them a chance to come back into the game.
Yeah, agree. Totally agree.
Yeah, I mean,
Cal, what did you make of it?
Oh, so in a game where you said it exactly right. In a game where you don't have many chances, you need to take every single, even if it's a half chance, you need to do the best that you can. I thought Havertz kind of fluffed around with it too much. It's a shame, because if Havertz was right-footed, he probably could have done the exact same finish that he did for the first goal, roof of the net, and it probably would have had a good chance of going in. So, he should have done better. He kind of let the ball get away from him, but it was a good passage of play, and it's such a shame that we didn't get to see more of that. As you said it exactly right again before, that the weight of pass just seemed to be off the entire game. Every pass was overhit. We're taking too many touches on the ball. Like, I love Trossard, but like, oh man, he frustrated me today. Like, there's sometimes we're just cutting the ball into the midfield, trying to dribble past 3 players in the center of the pitch, no one around. Like, what are you doing, mate? Just pass the ball. Like, it was really frustrating to see, and it felt like sort of, I don't know if it's nerves or PSG shutting us down or new tactics for the final, but it just seemed like we weren't ourselves today in terms of the way that we pass and players moving and stuff. So I was just really disappointed with the actual way that we moved the ball and the performance, considering that we didn't have much possession at all. So I felt like we could have done better.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I think that is us, unfortunately.
Thank you. I was just about to say exactly the same thing on that comment, Cal, where we weren't ourselves. I think that is exactly how we've been all season.
Well, I think there's also been games like, but the thing that disappointed me was that I've seen us do better than that. Like, it felt different today. Like, even just the first touches and stuff like that. Sometimes, like the movement, and it just felt like something was slightly different. I don't know if that's because it's like a Champions League final. I always feel like in finals it is a little bit different. Like the Carabao Cup final was kind of similar in the fact that we couldn't progress the ball well. Maybe it's because we're just playing against elite teams like Manchester City and PSG. It probably is that, to be honest. Because obviously in the Premier League, it's a different competition, so it's going to be a different type of football. But I've seen us do better than that, and I was a bit disappointed.
I've seen us do better than that. We've definitely done better than that, but it's been rare this season. Even in a Premier League winning season, a lot of the time in their final third, we've looked very average, not fluid enough, not accurate enough, clunky. As I said before, we're just not free flowing. There is always a pass that's under hit or over hit. And that has been all season. You know, we've been to many games at home. We've been, we've been frustrated. When we went to Brighton, I remember that was horrific. Some of the passing that was terrible. It's been, I would say, it's been the norm this season. We've had more offensive performances like that than really good ones where we've been free flowing. There's been a few where we've been free flowing and played well offensively, but the norm has been more like that, which is concerning.
Yeah, it is concerning. It is concerning. And, I think when in the Premier League, especially when 18 out of 19 other teams will sit back in a more deep block and your job is to break that block down, that is more of a challenge than when teams come and press you and try and beat you. So I guess my disappointment was there were actually gaps. Miles Lewis-Skelly did sort of drive into a gap once or twice, and he was able to compose himself and play that forward pass in between the lines because there were gaps to do that. The problem that we had was that the quality of pass was poor in big spaces, whereas in the Premier League you're playing in much tighter spaces, so you have to really be intricate with the way that you're passing for that to come off. So when you watch teams like Man City and they've got Ryan Cherki and Phil Foden and Bernardo Silva in those half spaces, receiving the ball on the back foot and able to turn and then create something, that's where I feel like we are lacking. And not just that, I feel like the supply from our number 6, instead of Rodri finding a pass with guile and disguise, similar to how Thomas Partey used to do it. He used to sort of move his hips in a way where he can receive the ball off our centre-backs, sort of glide past 2 or 3 and then find that pass in between the lines. I personally just feel like this season, that's something that Zubimendi and Declan Rice have struggled with. So even if we do have an Odegaard or an Eze waiting between the lines to receive the ball, that ball's not always coming quickly. So it's difficult then to create something when the spaces become much smaller, and it allows teams to defensively get themselves into a shape where they can actually stop that pass from coming at all. So my frustration was I actually thought there were quite a lot of gaps. I just thought the actual quality of the passing was pretty poor all game.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And that's what I was trying to say more of before. It's just like we have the players that can produce those quality passes, and they just didn't do it today. That's why it seemed out of character, and that's also why when you guys dropped out of the call, I was saying that I was disappointed that Eze didn't come on earlier in the game. I thought if he did come on earlier, I think he would have been better in that midfield. We saw when he did come on, like he had a few good moments. Wasn't much, of course, with 22% possession, but it was definitely better signs than the rest of the game. I thought the whole midfield. I thought Lewis-Skelly did well with driving the ball, but the actual passes just seemed to be slightly off today. It just wasn't our day.
For sure, and credit does go to PSG, who are obviously a top level side, best side in Europe, and for a reason they've gone back to back in the Champions League. But we did get into half time 1-0 up. We definitely were able to evade quite a lot of pressure from PSG, who didn't really create that many open play chances, and there were quite a lot of good blocks and interceptions from Gabriel, from Hincapié, and the rest of them, to be honest with you. But David Raya wasn't really tested in that first half, so we went into half time 1-0 up. Came out the second half, and yeah, I think you're quite right, Cal. And I was very surprised at the changes that he decided to make when he made them. Yeah. Again, it did show me the intent in terms of really trying to win that game 1-0. The Martinelli and the Madueke at the same time, to me was not the right approach. Like Martinelli for me has done some amazing things for this football club since he joined, and obviously we got him for a very cheap price. At the time was like 6 million for an 18, 17-year-old Martinelli, and I just think that his best attribute is how he is off the ball. And for someone who plays in the final third, for that to be the case, especially at this top level, you're just going to get exposed in the biggest games. And so off the ball, he was brilliant. He was able to cover Hincapié and to double up on Desiree Doué and whoever else was drifting out to their right hand side, our left hand side. But on the ball, when he came on, he was just so poor. And Dad, you were quite right. We had actually quite a few opportunities in that second half, especially when the game opened up, to really expose PSG on the counter attack. But the ball came out to him and to Gyökeres quite a few times, and the quality of pass was so poor. Same goes for Havertz. I remember one opportunity when Havertz sort of wrestled his way, I think it was past William Pacho, and all he had to do was slide Saka in. And the weight of pass was just embarrassing. And you just know that if that's a Barcelona, that ends up in at least a shot on target, at least. And that's my frustration. It's just like the quality is so poor. And when you don't have the ball and you have the ball for 20%, you really got to make the most of those opportunities. And we really didn't all game.
Well, it's the little 1%ers that can win you the Champions League, and we just didn't take them. We didn't do we just didn't do the little things, and that was the difference at the end of the day, I guess.
And that has to be the evolution going into next year. It's like I can't see Mikel and Arsenal evolving into a full free-flowing team that we saw in was it 22-23?
Yeah.
I can't see us going back to that because we have a really strong, amazing defensive foundation. However, we have to evolve when we have the chances in the final third and get players and recruit correctly to get those players who are going to make the difference.
Yeah.
Because that for me is the natural evolution of this team.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. And we'll definitely get on to, who those players may be. Go on, Dad.
Just throwing it out there. And again, George, we've spoken about this many times, but how much of the way that we play offensively is down to the quality of the players that we currently have and or the system that we play in and or the coaching offensively. It seems to me that we had a situation in the 2022-23 season where we offensively were at times very, very good, very free-flowing, scored a lot of goals, but for many reasons, injuries and whatever else, we conceded too many. So since then, he has built an unbelievably strong defensive unit. And that's, when I say defensive unit, we defend as a team. So that's from Gyökeres through the midfield to obviously the defense and goalkeeper. We defend brilliantly. It seems to me that there has not been very much work done on the offensive side. I don't understand the patterns that we have. When in that season, when you had White and Odegaard and Saka all playing very well, you could see what we were trying to do. And we said at the time it's far too right orientated and we needed to get a better balance on the left.
Yeah.
We haven't got the better balance on the left, and the right has gone as well. We don't look anywhere near as dangerous and free-flowing on the right. So it seems to me that we're not... I'm not convinced it's got that much to do with the players, with the actual quality of the players. I feel that Odegaard, Eze, Saka, Havertz, not necessarily Gyökeres, he's not technically very good, but they're all good players. but for some reason we're not getting the best out of them. And I think that's got a lot to do with the system and quite a bit to do with coaching.
Yeah. Well, I think that you're definitely there's definitely an argument for that. Um, there's there's a few things to break down. I think that something that I mentioned earlier in terms of in the Premier League, we're playing against mostly lower blocks, whereas in the 2022-23 season, teams didn't expect us to be as good as we were. So the spaces that we were able to exploit were much bigger. Uh, teams and players weren't tripling up on Saka on that right hand side, and they were giving Odegaard space in central areas where he would exploit and he would deliver usually. Whereas now we're playing against much deeper blocks. We also don't have necessarily the quality from deep to find those players, and I also don't think the players necessarily are good enough in those areas to exploit. So I think it's a combination probably of them all. But when you compare really the quality of a Trossard to a Kvaratskhelia, because that is the direct matchup on the left, our left hand side versus their left hand side, and even Barcola to Trossard and Barcola to Martinelli. It's a mismatch. It's a total mismatch, and you can go to Barcelona, Rafinha, Lamine Yamal. The quality of player is just on a totally different spectrum. So whilst yeah, I agree with you. Some of it may be system based and maybe to do with a lack of coaching. I just think that you really need to upgrade in those forward areas with players who are just that much better than the ones that we've got. Yeah, so that was pretty frustrating. But yeah, obviously 60 minutes went by, and Kvaratskhelia, we were only gonna, I guess, keep him quiet for so long. Played an amazing 1-2, and you saw Mascara's body lingering over him, and you just knew what was going to happen. Unfortunately, definite pen for me. What did you boys think?
Yeah, 100% a penalty. Looked at it multiple times, I'm sure we all have. And I don't think he needs to make the challenge. And that's obviously easy for me to say, looking back on it, and not actually be one of the players playing. But look, he probably would have got a shot away. But there was, I can't remember if it was
covering.
Capier was covering. And at the angle, whilst Kvaratskhelia is unbelievable anywhere in the box, it would have had to have been a perfect strike to probably get past Raya. Saying that, look, Mascara's not a right back. And we talked about it before the game. We said he's probably going to get a red card or give away a penalty, and so he did. And he had an unbelievable game. So, well done to Mascara. But it was just that lapse of concentration that punished him and punished us in that moment.
Look, we got to remember,
Yeah.
he's still so young as well. What is he? 21, maybe 22 now. But for him to play in the Champions League final, the biggest game of his career, in a position where it's not his natural position, it's a tough thing. I think the thing that's just so frustrating is that we had Timber on the bench. I know it's probably due to injury why he didn't start, but then Timber came on. What was it, 3 minutes after the penalty anyway? So it's if he came on 5 minutes before, I know it's so easy, obviously, to say that in hindsight, but maybe, I don't know, if Timber came on at half time, he might not have conceded the goal, but maybe that would happen in an alternate universe out there somewhere. But I thought, yeah, when we saw the penalty, I was trying to think surely, please, VAR something. But then when you saw it, it's you can't really argue with that. But I do want to say though, one thing that really did annoy me when I was at the Star Casino is some PSG French guy. It was about 5 seconds before the penalty had even the foul had even occurred. This guy was yelling, yes, yes, and I was like, oh, what's gonna happen? 5 seconds later, they call the penalty. Mate, why are you ruining it for everyone? Whoever that is, that ruined it for everyone. That annoyed me, but it was definitely a penalty. Can't lie.
I haven't got a clear although we've sort of seen it on various media posts, it hasn't been that clear to me. It hasn't. I couldn't see whether or not he got the man or whether he got a bit of the ball. It did look clumsy, and he was obviously ball watching. He didn't see the man going. I don't think he knew exactly where Kvaratskhelia was, and he just sort of made a lunge for the ball when he didn't really need to, as Archie was saying. I think he could have not made that challenge, and I think Nkapé would have got across to cover any shot that he might have done. But ultimately, I think from what you're saying, he did catch some of Kvaratskhelia, and therefore it's a penalty.
Yeah, no,
he went
was
like
clumsy.
through the man. Like he did get a little bit of the ball, but it was definitely majority man first. So
Yeah, definite pen, and Dembele slots it perfectly in that bottom left-hand corner. Really, really good pen, and yeah, they equalised 1-1. Something I will say actually is that I thought the referee was not brilliant, and listen, the team that won deserved to win probably on the balance of things. It was neither here nor there in terms of a team really deserving it or a team really not deserving it. But I thought the ref didn't really control the game particularly well. It seemed like obviously Mosquera ended up coming off a Timber because he was already booked, and he was booked because he was time wasting from a throw, which I personally have no problem with. If the ref is going to be strict on that rule, then you have to enforce it consistently. And we saw Fabian Ruiz kick the ball away when we won a throw and nothing happened. And it seemed like the game that we wanted to play was a physical one. Clearly, we were playing long from David Raya into Kai Havertz, and we were trying to win off second balls and win territory. But it seemed like every single time there was a 50-50 challenge and us trying to be slightly more physical, every single time PSG would go down, and every single time the ref would blow it. Every single time. I mean, there was one particular one, I think it was in the first half, where João Neves, no, it wasn't. It was in the second half with Timber. Timber sort of rolled João Neves and maybe slightly caught him with his arm. And João Neves just goes down and the ref straight away gives it. And it seemed like every time we tried to do that, and Havertz tried to do it quite a few times, the ref just waved play on. So he seemed pretty inconsistent with what he was letting go and what he wasn't. And those 50-50s every single time, it seemed like it was going PSG's way. I'm not sure if you guys thought the same in stadium.
Bro, 100%.
Yeah,
in the stadium, I'll let you guys. You probably have a better understanding of it. I'll go next.
Yeah, I don't love to criticize the ref. I just don't love to do that. However, I did feel yesterday PSG were getting the majority of those 50-50 decisions. The one where Bukayo Saka got a booking. How was that foul?
That's the one I was going to bring up. That was ridiculous. PSG. We saw the replays of that. Like, Saka comes in, he's about to control the ball. I think it was Doué comes in flying with 2 feet as Saka's about to touch the ball. Saka doesn't know Doué put himself in that dangerous position by sliding in with 2 feet in the air. Like, how is Saka supposed to control his reactions? I thought that was a ridiculous decision. That's the one that I was going to bring up. So, yeah, that's all good.
Yeah.
I think the referee, I mean, I've just called a spade a spade. Like Archie, I never feel, that I don't like to think that we've lost a game because, of a poor referee. And I don't think we did. The better team won. But I thought the referee yesterday was really poor, really poor. We'll come on to, I'm sure, the main controversy, which is interesting, which was the foul or no foul on Madueke. But I just thought that there was a lot of things. Whilst I understood why he did what he did for the the corner the only corner we got in the first half, which was right at the end of the first half, which I've never ever seen a referee do that. You always allow the corner to be taken. I did, however, feel that we were taking far too long over throw-ons, which we always do, and for that particular corner, it took Saka an age to get himself into a position. He was turning around, and it was wasting time. That's what he was trying to do. He was trying to make that the last action of the half, but it's an offensive corner, which we're extremely good at. And the only one we managed to get, as I say, in the first half, you go and you run and you take it. You show the referee, to me, in that position when I'm playing years and years ago, I'm getting the ball, I'm running to the corner flag to make sure that you've got enough time to take the corner. Saka, unfortunately, did everything apart from that. He was, it took him so long. So I sort of understood it, but I've never seen it before. And then there were various other decisions. The foul on Saka that was a foul against PSG that he gave to PSG and then booked Saka, I assume, for dissent. As you say, the Timber one, which I could not understand at all, and you could see from Timber's reaction, there was, it was just a nothing. Whereas there did look to be a few times where Havertz was possibly fouled and the referee just played on. The same with Gyökeres. I just thought generally he was a very, very poor referee.
Yeah, 100%. Well said. Yeah, it was very frustrating. It was very, very frustrating when we've been successful in having quite a powerful midfield who get about the pitch well and stick their bodies in the mix. Really, we were trying to do that, and essentially we couldn't get any flow to the game because the ref kept on stopping it. And it seemed like he kept on stopping it in PSG's favour, which may just be me with my Arsenal tinted glasses on, but it did seem that way. So it was pretty frustrating. And yeah, we get to 1-0 and we're under the cosh slightly, but there were opportunities to win the game. There were opportunities to win the game and really stamp our authority on the game, but it didn't seem that we were really doing that. Now, I actually can't remember off the top of my head, but did the Madueke chance, it came in extra time, didn't it? The controversy, yeah. So we get to extra time. Obviously, the boys are tired. Yeah, it's very difficult, firstly, to play 120 minutes after us playing 63 games in a season up until that point. On top of the
I don't think it
fact
did come. Sorry, George, I might be wrong. I think it came in regular time.
Didn't. It was the second half of.
Was it the second half? Sorry.
Yeah, I think it was the second half of extra time.
It was about 10 minutes to go.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And the context is important here, right? PSG obviously don't play at the same intensity as Arsenal do, having played in the Premier League compared to the French league, right? So, and they have the ability, because they're a French team, to postpone one of their games that they were supposed to have, so they had more rest in time for the Champions League, which is absolutely abhorrent. I can't believe that's a thing. But they were extremely fresh, and we obviously have had full competitions, a lot of games, and we were tired. You could see that the boys are tired at this part of the season, but we get to extra time in a Champions League final and anyone's got a chance. Now, Noni Madueke, I thought, actually, when he came on, did a lot of very, very good things. He's very direct. He goes past his man a lot of the time when he's not there, and he got the ball on the right-hand side and just took Nuno Mendes on a bit of a journey. It seemed like he got himself in between the ball and the man, and almost identical to Kvaratskhelia penalty. I thought the situation was very similar, how he got himself in between the ball and Mosquera. I thought the same thing happened with Mendes. Noni Madueke goes over and the ref just doesn't give it. And I just can't believe that he doesn't give it. Now, I've watched it back a few times. I've spoken to the boys in the car about it. The reason why I think it wasn't overturned is probably because Nani sort of claws Nuno Mendes and grips him instead of just putting his body in front of him. Now, that's the only defense I will give it, because other than that, it seems so clear cut. It's just unbelievable how it
Yeah.
seemed like VAR weren't really getting involved. Cal, what did you make of that decision?
Mate, it's a penalty. Like, when have you ever seen? Like, I know Madueke's hand was there, but like Nuno Mendes does a lot more in that situation. Madueke has the advantage. The ball's in front of him. Nuno Mendes has been like Madueke has beaten him. Nuno Mendes is directly behind him and bundles him over from behind. You can't take someone out from behind. Like, when is that ever not a penalty? Like, I know people say it's a foul anywhere else on the pitch, and I do think there's quite a slightly different threshold for penalties. But even for a penalty, I think if you go through the back of someone, did he get the ball at all? I don't think he did, right? He didn't, no, exactly. He didn't get the ball at all. I can't see how that isn't a penalty. I don't know. And the thing that frustrated me the most is that they didn't even check the VAR. Like, and obviously they do their internal checks, but they didn't call the ref over for his opinion. They just kind of let it go, which I found weird. I thought we were going to see one of these and he was going to go off to the sideline, but we didn't see it. It kind of just got brushed away, and it was a long time before they could even clear it because the ball didn't go out. So it was really frustrating. I thought it was a penalty.
Boys in the car, what do you reckon?
It's yeah. So there's a few things to break down here. I think the referee obviously didn't give it a penalty. So now we're looking from a VAR's perspective. Is it a clear and obvious error, right? Similar to the David Raya hold against West Ham, that obviously the goal got disallowed because it was a foul. If you grab a player by the arm, which he evidently did, it's a foul. And I'm talking about Noni holding Nuno Mendes. So with that consideration, I don't think it's a clear and obvious error. However, I do not know how the referee couldn't see the hold from Noni. So I cannot understand how the referee has not given it a penalty. And if it is given as a penalty, I don't think it's a clear and obvious error to overturn it to not be a penalty. So that's my view on it. Look, I think Noni did foul him, and that led to Nuno Mendes falling in the way he fell on top of Noni. So my overall view is, on the basis it wasn't given a penalty, I can understand why it wasn't overturned.
Yeah, I'm completely on that. So seeing it first off again, unfortunately, was it our end? Yeah, it was our end. Sorry, it was our end. I 100%. Oh no, sorry, it was the far end. That's right. So we didn't have the greatest view of it in real time because it was a long way from us. But when you see a ball go in front of or past a defender, and then the next action is the player, the offensive player has been bundled over, you immediately think it has to be a penalty. I then saw, after the game, we saw a couple of clips of it, but I didn't. It wasn't again. They weren't great clips of it, and I thought I couldn't quite see what was going on with Madueke and Madueke's arm. I saw an arm going across, but it wasn't until this morning someone sent a clip which clearly shows Madueke hooking, not just putting his arm across, hooking with his left arm Mendes's arm. So there was no need for Madueke to do that. And like Archie said, similar to the West Ham game where whoever the striker was putting his arm across Raya and grabbing hold of one of his arms,
Okay.
that's a foul. And what Madueke did technically is a foul. I still think that Mendes would have committed a foul and did commit a foul, but the fact that he was hooked meant that VAR would have had a look at it, I'm sure, because they always do, and probably because of that would have said that the ref's decision wasn't a clear and obvious mistake. Notwithstanding that, coming back to what we were saying before, how bad the referee was, there is no way in a million years the referee could see that Madueke hooked the arm. And therefore, that has to be given as a penalty. Has to be.
That's absolutely true. But the only playing devil's advocate to your argument, like David Raya is a goalkeeper, so David Raya has to use his hands. Whereas we play a physical sport, which it is contact. And if that's in the middle of a pitch and the foul afterwards is not committed and it's just two players running for the same ball and that happens, is that given as a foul? The answer is probably not.
Sorry, say that again. I didn't.
I'm saying that if Nuno Mendes doesn't go on to foul Madueke, but they're running in the middle of the pitch and Madueke links the arm like he does and they're just running towards the ball, does the ref pull up and say that's a foul to Nuno Mendes? The answer is no, he doesn't. It's a contact sport. Like most refs will not give that. It's a 50-50, half a dozen, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It's like a 50-50. So to me, because he's not a goalkeeper like Raya was for the incident where he needs his hands, that's not a foul. It's not a foul on Nuno Mendes, but Nuno Mendes clearly takes Madueke out in the box. So it has to be a penalty.
I think we're saying the same thing to a degree. You're saying, are you saying that once VAR saw the hooking of the arm, they should have ignored that and and told the referee to go to the screen?
Correct.
No, I disagree. I disagree.
How much of an advantage?
I think this all comes down.
How much of an advantage does Madueke gain from doing that?
Nuno Mendes only falls down in the way he does because Madueke has held him. He pulls him and Mendes falls on top of him because of the pull.
When you link with someone and you're
running
at that speed, if he had just put his arm across and left the arm down, I think VAR gets involved and says, you've got to look at the screen here. The fact he actually physically went like this, if you look at it, he took the arm and went like this at speed, as Archie said, that linking together, that action means that you're stumbling, he will stumble on top of you, and it looks very, very, very awkward. I was 100% convinced it was a penalty to start with. Having seen what I saw this morning, the linking, that hooking of the arm, I am now thinking that the referee should have given it and it wouldn't have been overturned. But the fact that he didn't give it, I'm not surprised that VAR didn't tell the referee to go to the screen. And that's just, trying to look at it from a neutral point of view, without, as you said, without the tinted Arsenal specs on.
Just to build on that, even if it was given, in my opinion, there is a world where it may have been overturned because of that action, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think VAR, obviously, they would have looked at it had it been given, and they may have said, you might need to look at the screen here because there is a hooking. Now, whether the referee, if he got that instruction from VAR, whether or not he would have overturned his decision based on that, I don't know. Most referees, if they're told to go to the screen, do overturn their own decision for But I think that's the reason that VAR didn't tell him to go to the screen, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, listen, we got, I guess, over the line in terms of getting to penalties, and then I actually thought the biggest when we talk about the one percenters, the biggest of one percenters happened when Declan Rice stepped up to the coin toss, and unfortunately, he was on the wrong end of both decisions, which was to go and at the PSG end and to take first, which he lost both of them, which is obviously not his fault, but unfortunate nonetheless. You would want at least one of those decisions to go Arsenal's way, but it seemed like the football gods were playing slightly against us, and yeah, it was at the PSG end, and yeah, yeah, not very good. Not very good thereafter. Not very good thereafter. Obviously, Gonzalo Ramos, I think, stepped up first for
Yeah.
PSG, slotted it, really, really good pen. And our first taker was Gyökeres, who equaled the shootout. I'm trying to think who took second for them. My brain is not working at this time of the evening after not having so much sleep.
Oh man, who cares about the PSG players, man? Let's just.
Was it
Hakimi?
Hakimi?
It was one of them. I think Hakimi took one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, Hakimi definitely took
Yeah, he
one
took
of
the
them.
last one. Hakimi.
Yeah.
Desiree Doué took a great penalty. I mean,
I'll get it up here. I'll get it up here.
They all took pretty good penalties, apart from the one that that David Raya saved. But stepping up, was it our second penalty?
Yeah, Eze was the second penalty. Can I just say about this is something that I don't know if you guys agree with this opinion, but like when Eze stepped up, I was happy. But as soon as I saw the way he ran up, did the little stutter, I hate
Horrible.
the stutter run up. Every time I've seen that stutter run up, I think I've seen them miss about 50% of them. Like it just never works. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but I hate seeing
100%.
that.
Not only does it not work, but as soon as it seemed like he was confused in his own mind, and he was changing his mind during.
It's overthinking it, exactly. Like you just run and just slot it in. Like for Eze, I always think about as a penalty when I'm trying to take a penalty, just pretend your teammate's standing in the corner and just try and pass it to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Eze is a capable passer of the ball. And mate, it's Safanov. Like he's not a fantastic goalkeeper. If you get it on target, it's probably going to go in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was just
yeah.
really
I mean,
disappointed with that.
And it was a very disappointing penalty, and for all the good things that Eze has done this season, unfortunately, people always remember who misses penalties. They never really remember who scores them. You think of England and Gareth Southgate missing the famous penalty for England, and John Terry in the Champions League final for Chelsea. And yeah, unfortunately, this one was not a good one. Was not a good one from Eze. And despite all the good work he's done for us this season and the moments he's had, hat-trick against Spurs, 2 goals against Spurs, assist against City for an assist for Martinelli against City and also against Bayern. He's going to be remembered for this miss, which is really quite frustrating. But yeah, well, what did you boys think? Same. I'm guessing.
Yeah, we discussed the penalties coming out of the stadium, and interestingly, I don't know if you guys also noticed this, but there must be a shift in everyone and how they stand and taking a penalty. Everyone was like central,
Yeah.
and then either goes left or right and like comes round on the ball, which is a new way to take penalties that I haven't really noticed before last night. So that was just like an interesting overall analysis in terms of Ebb's penalty. Look, with a penalty shootout, target you're 100% going to miss. So make sure your penalty's on target. And Cal, as you said, with Ebbs' ability, if he's hitting on target, it's probably going in. So it was super disappointing, and obviously pressure, the expectation kind of had that amount of life probably in that moment. So
yeah, we're losing you there, Arch, a little bit.
It did.
In terms of the connection. Yeah, we can sort of hear you. You guys are breaking up a little bit. It's got to be said. I don't think the connection where you guys are is super strong right now.
Well, we've just crossed over from Hungary to Austria, so obviously the
blame the Austrians then.
than it is in Austria.
Yeah, blame the Austrians. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think as Archie was saying,
Oh, nah, we've fully lost them now. We've fully lost them
Yeah.
now.
We'll, we'll
But yeah,
we'll we'll continue. We'll continue, George. So I think when Eze missed that penalty, I was
body
uh,
either left or right,
all
depending
right.
on what footed they are, and then to me that throws your body out a little bit. It's much easier to control a ball either whichever way you're going if you're running up to it, sort of from one side, what you're, the side you should be running it up to it with whatever footed you are. So
yeah,
if you're right footed, you should be left of the ball, and then you either hit it into the corner, you sort of curl it into the right hand side of the goal, or you hit it across yourself into the left hand side of the goal. If you're running up to it straight and then you're moving your body one way to then run up to it, it just feels like you're sort of almost confusing your own body. You're putting more doubt into you're getting your body into an area to strike the ball as you should want to strike it,
yeah, 100%. And
if you know what I
uh,
mean.
yeah, for sure. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I've always been someone that's taken penalties for whatever team I've played for, and like I would say at the relatively low level that I've played, my percentage of scoring to missing is pretty high, probably in the nineties in terms of percentages. So one thing that I've always been taught from a very young age, probably come from you, Dad, is decide where you want to put the ball the night before. And I'm sure they would have been working on penalties throughout this whole week. Decide where you want to put it the night before, and do not change your mind after you've made a decision. And it seemed like he changed his mind during the run up, like
Yeah.
and that's what shimmying and doing everything, all the stuttering that he did, I think makes it look like, which is really unfortunate. It's tough. The pressure, that is such a
That's a
you
massive
can't.
factor, man. The pressure, like I know we broke it down to like it's just a simple spot kick at the end of the day, but it is just more than that. Like for me, like penalty shootouts, especially in that magnitude of a game, it's not even like a football thing. It's a purely mental game between, I mean, you and the goalkeeper, but also just you and yourself as well, and your own thoughts where you're going to put it. I'm sure Eze
Great.
was he probably did decide where he was going to go. Maybe he might have switched it halfway through his run up, and that's what got him to shoot it off target. But yeah, the pressure plays a massive, massive factor. But straight after it, though, we did have a good moment when Reyes obviously saved Nuno Mendes' penalty. I'm sure we're all feeling the hope at that point. Yeah, good save. We're all feeling good after that, I'm sure. But then, went back and forth a little bit. We both each scored our next two penalties. Declan Rice, Martinelli for us, and then Hakimi and Lucas Beraldo. And then it got to the moment, and I'll let Archie, if you guys got good connection now. What were you guys feeling in that stadium when Gabriel stepped up to take the penalty?
Well, my dad doesn't watch Arsenal penalties ever, so he was a bag of nerves that can't really give much analysis on the actual penalty.
My back was turned to the
Oh,
pillow. Yeah, I couldn't watch the penalty. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Are we back with you
yeah, yeah,
guys?
you're back with us. You're all
Yes.
good.
My initial thought was interesting that Gabriel's stepped up, knowing that Zubamendi and Madueke had yet to take a penalty. And I think we discussed this offline, but you don't start unless you've got a defender who is renowned for taking penalties or set pieces. You normally go through your attackers and your midfielders before your defender steps up. So that was a little surprising. And then similarly, he kind of did like this straight run up, and like Ebbs, completely missed the target. And look, I think he was trying to blast it in the top right hand corner. And unfortunately, yeah, that was it. That was the moment that we lost the final. And yeah,
I think there's another part to the whole penalty, the whole penalty sort of game moment was had, you want your best penalty takers to be on the pitch at the end of a game for the possibility of penalties, obviously. And unfortunately, and pretty much, and this is something that we possibly we can talk about a little bit, was, you three of the definite penalty takers that take penalties fairly regularly for Arsenal are Havertz, Saka, and Odegaard. And I believe two of those players, ordinarily, if they were playing well, would have been on the pitch at the end. You've got to, as a manager, you've got to think that in a cup final. You've got to be thinking, the possibility it will go to. You're in the second half of a match. You've got to be thinking, okay, there is a possibility now. We're not losing 3-0. We're not winning 3-0. There is a possibility. It's a tight game. It might go to penalties. Unfortunately, I don't think he had any choice but to take off two players that, in my opinion, were underperforming on the day. And in the end, that may have, had a big bearing on the overall result. Who knows what would have happened if they had stayed on the pitch? They may have done something that created a goal or anything like that. We don't know. Or we may have ended up losing in normal time because they might have given the ball away. Do you know what I mean? You don't know, because it changes. Obviously, every decision you make, taking a player off, changes something that will happen in the game. But you really want your best penalty takers on at the end of a match, and we just didn't. And the fact that we had to ask, or Gabriel stepped up for the fifth penalty, you would expect him to be, maybe the eighth or ninth penalty taker, not the fifth penalty taker in a shootout of this magnitude.
Yeah, no, 100%. But simultaneously, you could say that Kvaratskhelia and Dembele were also off for PSG.
Yeah.
And their options, Hakimi and Mendes are both fullbacks, but because they're attacking fullbacks, like, who are marauding, they stepped up and Mendes didn't, but Hakimi slotted his penalty pretty nicely. And I'm sure if Calafiori was on the pitch, he probably would have taken it as well. So it was just, pretty strange to see a centre back of all positions taking, and one who's not necessarily known for his on the ball quality. Like Gabriel's main ability is how good of a natural defender he is, not necessarily his ball striking. So no, it was a pretty strange one. And you know what? It's funny that you're talking about this whole experience. Dad, you were faced away. Arch, you were watching it, and so were you, Cal. Well, actually, in the bar that I was in Melbourne, the TVs decided to freeze at the point of Gabriel about to step up his penalty.
Way.
So the whole bar just went quiet. No one knew what was going on, and then people checked their phones. So that's how I found out that Arsenal had lost the Champions League final. So I'd waited 7 hours before kickoff, just being at the bar so I could get a good spot. Then waited the whole game and the whole of extra time to get to penalties. And the last kick was the one that just froze. The TV just froze.
Do you think that was sort of better in a way, or do you think you would have wanted to watch it? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
Mate, it was hard to watch. There was points where I almost wanted to look away, but I pushed through. So I think maybe if I had the excuse that that it froze, I maybe would have taken that, to be honest. But no, it was a rough night, But look, we're running out of time now, so we'll quickly wrap up. But at the end of the day, we've had a good season. We've made history. We've won the Premier League after 22 years. We've made the Champions League final. We've made the Carabao Cup final. Like, on paper, it's a good season, of course. Winning the Premier League finals, and it can only get better from here. A lot of the other teams don't seem settled like we do, and I think this can really be the start of something special for Arsenal Football Club in this new era. So I'm excited for sure.
Yeah, and I think just without taking too much time, because I know we don't have that long. I'm sure myself, my dad, and Arch both mirror that same message. This could really be the start of an Arsenal dynasty. We just have to see what we do in the summer, and it's really probably the most important summer of our club's history. And I'm very excited to see what Arteta, Berta, and the Cronkies will produce. And fair play to the Cronkies. Since they've been full owners, we've only seen us improve. So I know they received quite a lot of hate at the beginning and with the Super League and all that sort of stuff, but they've really come through. And Josh Kroenke at the helm has really taken us to the point where now we're competing at the top table, and that's all we could have asked for. So big up to Arsenal. We've had a great season. We've won the Premier League. We're Premier League champions, champions of England. And next year, hopefully, we'll have this experience, just like Man City and Liverpool did under Klopp and with Pep, losing a Champions League final to then go and win it the following year. So come on, you Gunners. And I hope everyone has a good day, Gooners. Thank you, guys.